take precautions in the Florida Panhandle. They were busy earlier moving things inside. Barry will bring plenty of wind and rain to the coastal communities. And here's a look at the satellite. Look at Barry as it churns in the Gulf. The tropical storm packs wind of 70 miles per hour with higher gusts. Barry will make landfall along the Florida Panhandle early this coming morning.
And take a look at the high surf and heavy rain falling at this hour in Panama City Beach, Florida. We'll have a live report from there and a live report from Destin coming up.
Hello and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Lisa Moser.
And I'm Dave Schwartz. Thanks for joining us. Let's bring you up to date to the very latest on Tropical Storm Barry. It will make landfall very early this coming morning, on Monday morning. Tropical Storm Barry is still packing 70 miles per hour winds and is moving toward the north at 8 miles per hour. Therefore, the areas shaded in yellow are up for some strong winds and heavy rain. Flood watches are in effect. Most of the state of Alabama, parts of Georgia and Florida. Tropical storm advisories, warnings are in effect for northwest Florida and the Mississippi coast. And a hurricane warning is in effect in between those 2 points, including Mobile Bay, Pensacola, Apalachicola, and Panama City, Florida. The greatest threat from Barry will be flooding. Parts of Florida could see 8 to 15 inches of rain. Heavy rain could hit parts of Alabama and North and South Georgia as well. We have 2 live crews covering Barry, one in Destin and one in Panama City. Let's check in first with Bill Keneally in Panama City. Bill?
All right, Dave, thank you very much. Again, the turn of the last century brought electricity, this century bringing Gore-Tex, and it is a wonderful thing out here tonight. Here we are on the west end of Panama City Beach, Dave, and once again, it looks like if there is an eye wall developing, it'll likely move up in this direction over the next 4 to 5 hours. So, folks, what we have now is probably better than what we'll have as we approach the midnight hour. With that said, please stay indoors tonight and hunker down. We've had a lot of debris come up on the beach, various and sundry things here, Dave. Looks like a big piece of plastic came up, and that reminds me, the tide highest again about 9:30 tomorrow morning. Pretty angry-looking surf out there, safe to say. The break is way out there. We get a second break coming in, and if we do have that storm coming in to the left of us or up the beach towards Kristen, we could very well see higher water here as that wind, which is now from the east, will have to veer around more to the south. And earlier today, as a precaution, a lot of folks were out in the grocery stores preparing for the onslaught of Barry. And as you can see, they're out there doing what they could, buying up all the sundry devices that you need to ride out a potential hurricane. We spoke to one of the ladies in the store.
Oh, we're going to have a storm with lots of rain, so we have to stock up on things that you don't have to have electricity or water to prepare.
All right, again, we're back here now, Dave, and yet again, the wind is starting to gust. I'm guessing we're approaching some tropical storm force winds in the gust. I'll have to check with the Tyndall Air Force Base and the Panama City Airport to verify. But here on the water, there's less friction, and it looks like we're going to get some winds in the 40s over the next hour and maybe higher thereafter. Let's head up the beach now, as said, over by Choctaw-Hatchie Bay and check in with Kristen Dodd. Kristen?
That's right. We're right between the bay and the Gulf of Mexico here on a very thin string of land. Destin, a very popular destination for vacationers, except not tonight. We had a lot of rooms that were left empty once Tropical Storm Barry was heading toward this area. We had reports that some of the hotels of over half of the people canceling their reservations and a lot more deciding to leave as they were concerned about the potential for flooding and also some stronger winds. As Bill mentioned, continuing to see those gusty conditions. We're taking wind readings periodically. Our peak wind gust so far at this location has been about 35 miles per hour, so we will see that increase as the center of Barry pulls up closer to our location. Here's a look at what folks were doing earlier today to get ready for Tropical Storm Barry. At the Haverty's Furniture Store in Shalimar, they were putting up the storm shutters to try to brace against any type of flying debris, trying to prevent any of the windows from breaking. We also have seen people getting gas and some water at the grocery stores, but it hasn't been a panic situation by any stretch of the imagination. The folks here are ready for this, and they're taking it in stride. The tourists, though, of course, were a bit more concerned. If indeed it looks like perhaps Bill will be getting some of that right front quadrant wind, he might be getting a little bit stronger wind than we will, and if indeed Barry does begin to form an eye, that may very well head over us, so it'll be something that we will watch during the overnight hours. The biggest concern here will be the potential for flooding in some of the lower roadways, and they have advised if you do live in a lower area, go ahead and evacuate to some of the available shelters. Now let's head back to the Weather Channel.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Kristen. And as we look at the situation out there now, we haven't seen any indication that the hurricane's getting any stronger. A lot of speculation on whether it still could become a hurricane, but I'd like to say I think that the window of opportunity for that is starting to close. It hasn't closed yet, but let's face it, we're talking 4 or 5 hours or maybe less now until the center reaches the coast, and we know that after that it will not get any stronger. Nevertheless, rain is going to be the problem, the biggest problem associated with this, and bear in mind that with a hurricane or a tropical storm, it's not the strength of the hurricane that counts when it comes to rainfall. Some very weak systems, even depressions, have produced tremendous amounts of rain, and we think this one's going to do so as well across the Florida Panhandle, up into Alabama and the southern parts of Georgia. Here's a radar picture. It may be showing up a little bit better, but not all the way around yet. Certainly nothing that we would talk about as an eye, although the northern part there looks a little bit like an eye wall. But very, very heavy rain indeed, and this isn't going to move, we don't think, very rapidly after it makes landfall, so that's going to provide the opportunity for even more rain. The movement will be toward the north, we believe, just about until it makes landfall, and then it will begin to curve a little bit toward the northeast. Possibility of an isolated tornado, hence tornado watch is in existence for the Florida Panhandle. Again, I'd just like to emphasize that rain is what we're concerned about the most. With the wind speeds that we have, and we think we're going to have a landfall, we wouldn't expect it to be very much wind damage. As far as the storm surge is concerned, we're thinking something in the order of 4 to 5 feet. But on top of the storm surge, remember, you have large waves, and they might be 10 or 12 feet, and that is going to be enough, we think, to provide some beach erosion as this moves in. But once it moves in, we know it won't get any stronger. It could get a little bit stronger, we think, but not much. I'll be back in another half hour with yet another update. Now back to Dave.
Thank you, John. I might point out here that this is not only a tropical storm for coastal residents, but this heavy rain and some wind will move inland and sit around for a while. Much of the southeast is covered with clouds. Rain is falling from Florida all the way around to New Orleans, all involved in the circulation around Tropical Storm Barry. Notice the heavy rain here that's moved into Tampa. That'll be around for a while. Rain just offshore, a rainy night here in Sarasota. And in these lines of showers and thunderstorms, there are gusty winds, too. In some cases, they've gusted over 40 miles per hour today. Then we take a trip up to Alabama. A flood watch is in effect for most of the state of Alabama, all the way up through Birmingham. As more rain rotates in from southeast to northwest, it's flowing all the way back to the Mississippi River and then down here to New Orleans. We've just had some showers, gusty winds, those have blown through, and we'll see that kind of merry-go-round around the southeast for the next couple of days, even once the tropical storm is on shore and is no longer even a tropical storm. That should happen by tomorrow. We'll be left with tremendous amounts of rainfall. So, a wrap. Tropical Storm Barry, packing 70-mile-per-hour winds, moving on shore tonight. Wind will become less of a threat. Hurricane warnings are in effect, however, from Pascagoula all the way over to Apalachicola. Then conditions should improve tomorrow. Further west, it's just hot. 102 in Dallas.
And it's 10 minutes till the top of the hour. We just got in a new advisory from the National Hurricane Center, so let's give you the very latest information on this edition of Storm Watch. Tropical weather update, okay? It's all about Barry. We've been looking at a few things that have changed and a few things that have not changed over the course of today. So just keep in mind this. The worst is beginning to occur, and we are going to be looking at a prolonged period in dealing with heavy rain, flood waters, and yes, we are going to be looking at storm strength wind, but the wind probably isn't the biggest threat. Now, the right front quadrant of Barry is also associated with thunderstorm activity, and we may even be looking at some tornadic activity. And as you can see, much of the panhandle around Panama, Destin, we are under a tornado watch. Now, please keep this in mind. You can see the central area with the radar here, not too far offshore. We get into the next few hours, we're likely to see that eye edge into the Destin, Florida vicinity. Let's give you the latest information that we have. As of 10 p.m. local time, we're looking at Barry, 70 miles per hour. That's the sustained wind. The forward movement at 8 miles per hour. We were talking yesterday about how erratic Barry was, and then forget that drift, forget that stationary movement. 7 a.m. this morning, we saw a very direct northeasterly track. We were looking at a rapid increase in intensity, went from 40 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour, and it's been 70 miles per hour with the sustained winds much of the day today. A very hectic time for the Panhandle, to say the least. Now, we are looking at hurricane warnings in effect for much of the Panhandle. You can see Pensacola, Florida here, further to the Mobile, Alabama area, and then getting over to Ocklawahnee River, a little bit to the east of Tallahassee, Florida. So a very tough time here tonight. Rain showers have been inundating this area. Flooding is going to be a big problem even as we go into the early morning hours, and much of the week we'll be just looking at a lot of rain from the remnant of what will become of Barry. The projected path, no change here this hour. We're still looking at a northerly track, and looking at the local radar for Tallahassee, some of the spiraling bands getting very close to the central area of circulation are very heavy. Torrential rain raining down on Tallahassee, raining down on Panama City, and even beginning to see a little more heavy rain pushing in to the western side of Barry around Pensacola, Florida. Now, flooding is going to be a concern over the course of tonight along the coastal vicinity here too, because we also have that surge to deal with as the eye does come on board.